Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks very much to Bureau of Indian Standards and the Data Science Foundation for the invitation to talk. My name is Ray Walshe, and I'm from Dublin City University, and I work there as a lecturer and a researcher in the area of big data within the Research Centre for Data Analytics called Insight. But as part of my work in standards and related activities in big data and cloud and smart cities and AI, I do some work with the World Economic Forum and the BDVA and a number of other institutions, including ISO, where we're doing the international work on WG9 this week. So I'm going to give a brief talk. Brief being the operative word here, because as I'm used to running workshops myself a lot, it's very hard to run these things to time. So what I aim to do is try and do it a little bit shorter than the time allocated to me, because luckily for me, I had WO and YL colleagues from WG9 giving talks earlier. So some of the stuff that I will present here will be common, so I can skip through it a bit quicker. So why AI? AI is the next big disruptor. We've had the evolution of lots of ecosystems, including cloud, big data, IoT, smart cities, etc. And the next one is AI, and it's a cross-cutting technology disruptor. So it's going to have its fingers influencing all of the other major ecosystems, and that's why it's so very important. Why now? Because everything is connected. This is the IoT age. Computing is becoming free. The cost of the hardware is coming down. Memory, storage, compute power, all of the fabrication technologies have improved, and costs are going down. And data is becoming the new oil. We've generated more data in the last 7 years than we have in the last 70 years. So as we go forward with everything being connected and all of our information online, whether it's professional or social or domestic, industrial, this data is becoming the bread and butter of the next generation of revenue streams for businesses. And then machine learning, or AI, is the new combustion engine. So what we're hoping to do is to capitalize on all of this data and this compute power to make real decisions, real important decisions, and solve some very large problems. Why are we doing it? Well, for the most part, for half the people in the room, if you're working in an economy an economy which is growing, if you're working in technologies, it's in an economy that's growing, and if you're in business, then it's all about markets, it's about generating revenue. And the prediction is that AI itself, and this is revenue generated by AI, not this is on top of the existing revenues that are currently generated by businesses, will reach $10 trillion, and that's US dollars per annum by about 2024. So that's why there's such a large amount of interest in AI within business. Some of the areas it's going to affect is medicine, automatic procedures being carried out by robots, and automated decisions made by some legal entities, companies or professional bodies, which will be using AI, I suppose, chatbot-like entities to do some of their due diligence on their behalf. On the top left-hand corner there, you can see a picture of a chest X-ray, which is all of you radiographers in the audience will know I'm not a radiographer either, so I don't know what it. Apart from the fact that it's actually labelled, but that's tuberculosis, and it's an AI that actually identified tuberculosis in this image, and it does it with 96% accuracy, which you would say was pretty damn good, like for an AI, and you'd be even more impressive if you know that 96% is actually higher than the human equivalent, because humans make mistakes when they're doing these diagnoses as well. On the right-hand side of the images there, we have a robot surgeon. So smart robotics or cobots is another thriving area at the moment. And in this instance, the robot carried out the surgery, and this is not on a human. We're not that advanced yet. But it was an unsupervised surgery on a pig intestine, which worked out to be more accurate than the human equivalent, the human surgeon equivalent. And the bottom left-hand side then is just to show that there's AI being used in the legal profession as well, looking at antitrust legislation, for example, and the type of sanctions that can be made available, or that need to be the penalties imposed if there are antitrust agreements breaches, and this can be detected by AI, and also then the sanctions recommended by AI as well. because I am doing some work with the WF, I just said I'd pick some of the related activities that they are going. So I'm just going to try and highlight some of the areas within the AI landscape and just have some discussion points for people to talk about. So things that are going to be affected by AI are unemployment, because some jobs will be replaced by robots. So where will the jobs go? Well, effectively what will happen is that most of the jobs that are created will just go up the human ladder, I suppose, in terms of intelligence. So the more mundane jobs will be replaced. Some things that machines can do currently will become AI machines that are doing it. But you still will have lots of jobs generated as well as jobs being created, as jobs being replaced by AI. Inequality, is an important ethical consideration as well in terms of this distribution of wealth, because if money's been made by AI, how has that money been distributed? Is this only going to affect the much larger players in terms of larger companies, etc.? Is AI going to affect our humanity? If we've got artificial intelligence bots on the net making decisions on our behalf, are we losing some of our human-related facets or human-related characteristics in what's been carried out on our behalf? There's an ethical consideration in terms of racism within robots, security. Can the intelligence be hacked? Evil genies, where unexpected outcomes are of the intelligence happen, and through the learning process, it's only as good as the data that's provided with, as was mentioned from the previous speaker. Singularity. So if you've got a very complex system, what are the chances that this complex system can run amok and do something that it's not authorized to do? So, and in robot rights, there's a sort of a humane aspect to it. Like, are there certain things that the robot should be allowed to do and allowed to carry out without any intervention? And with this in mind, then, there's this artificial intelligence. So looking at personalization algorithms and the need for ethical standards, and how to achieve this balance between productivity and purpose, for example, and between profits versus people. Because what machines are very bad at is things like empathy, and that the human traits that just cannot be replicated in the machine yet. But there are other initiatives out there that are looking to put more of a control and more of a structure on artificial intelligence, not just through the standards, but through consortia and other large groups and other initiatives. And one of them is the AI for Good, the ITUT initiative, which is looking at the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and seeing if it's possible to use AI to make for a better society. So AI in health and education, energy, and the environment. So that's with the view to, obviously, sustainable development. You have AI Now Institute, which is looking at rights and liberties. So criminal justice, law enforcement, housing. If you're going to have artificial intelligence agents or bots or machines or algorithms making decisions that are in any of these areas, then is it going to have an impact on civil rights, for example? And the AI Now Institute, which is based out of New York University, as far as I know, actually it is, yeah, it's out of NYU, and it's partnered up with ACLUs, so the Civil Liberties Union. In the other large consortia, YL already discussed IIC, and you saw that IIC has a huge wealth of projects that are running, which not just include cloud and IoT and big data, but also AI. So you have machine intelligence, machine learning, etc. And it's just a snapshot of some of the consortia that are involved. Other consortia would be Partnership in AI, which you can see the logos there on the top right-hand side, the Microsofts, the IBMs, etc. And they're looking to conduct research and organize discussions around AI and provide that information back to the public, so that there's an open and transparent conversation about how AI is being used and how those algorithms are being constructed, so that there's, I suppose, more trust in the community and more trust in the industry. European standardization organizations, well, we mentioned ISO already, and some of the other standards development organizations like ITUT. IEEE I'm going to mention as well, but the main ones within Europe are CEN, CENELEC, and ETSI. CEN is the broader remit. It's CEN, CENELEC, or CENELEC has the Electrotechnical Council, which is the electrotechnical standards, and then ETSI also is the telecommunication standards institute, who looks at 5G. But they're all looking at AI now as well, in terms of how it's going to impact on their other standards, because there are, as I mentioned before, the other ecosystems like cloud, big data, smart cities, IoT have developed standards which are going to be impacted by AI now. And just on where they sit in terms of who does what, we have our standards, which are our national standards, which will be governed by our national standards body. So it will be the Bureau for Indian Standards here. It will be NSAI, the National Standards Organisation, our authority in Ireland, and it will be BSI for the British Standards Institute, etc., etc. So you all have your own national standards, but then you have the CENELEC and ETSIs if you're part of Europe, and then you have ISO, IEC, ITUT, and IEEE if you want to go the full international route, because they have much larger organisations right across. They're not regional; they are fully international. And in terms of the European Commission, because I do some work with the Joint Initiative on Standardisation with the European Commission, I just mentioned that they have their 5 ICT standardisation priorities, and they are what you would expect them to be. They are the cloud and the big data, cyber security, and Internet of Things, and 5G, which is the underpinning infrastructure for delivering all of those. But what doesn't exist on this particular one, and this is the up-to-date standardisation prioritisation initiatives for the European Commission, is AI, but it is right across all 5, and that's why I said it's going to be the next big disruptor, because it's cross-cutting across all of these. A much more recent development by the European Commission is the establishment of Stand ICT, which is the standardisation in ICT, and it's a European Horizon 2020 funded project. I'm on the external advisory committee for this particular project, and they're looking to support the standardisation initiatives for people to engage with standards development organisations like BIS and NSAI to get experts to get engaged, number one, with their national standards bodies, but also maybe to participate with those committees at international level. And we saw then that JTC1 has its cross-cutting cloud, big data, IoT and AI committees. The most recent one is AI, which is the SC42. And just to give you a snapshot of Ro would already have alluded to this in the WG9 work, this is where we're currently at in terms of the type of frameworks that we're developing for big data. And we would assume that an AI considered framework will also be developed under the remit of YL in SC42 in the forthcoming years. Big Data Value Association is another consortium, just a European one, and they also have an influence on standardisation because they will provide inputs to ISO and ITUT and IEEE in terms of their involvement with the relevant standards internationally. And this is another way of influencing how AI gets adopted and more put another layer of control on the development, the direction of the development of new AI industries and new AI algorithms going forward. The BDVA reference model has a long stack associated with it, but on the right-hand side there you just see there is a cross-cutting section to standards, and that's where I do my work within BDVA and their standardization group, which is Task Force 6, SG6. But they cover everything from the visualization to the predictive, prescriptive and descriptive data analytics, the streaming and real-time architectures, anonymization of data, etc., and also looking at storage and warehousing, etc., aggregation of data. The AIOTI, which is the Alliance for the IoT Innovation, they also have their own group of AI experts which would look at, particularly within their IoT layer, they look at things like the analytics and the semantics associated with the meaning of the data that's been extracted from the IoT devices. And that is part of the AI remit as well. So there are lots of other architectures out there that have been developed. Another one will be the IEEE one on their framework for IoT. So that's the P2413. So that particular group have put together a similar architecture for their IoT framework for how these different building blocks and components, how you would consume the data, how you would present or develop the data, and how the framework for underpinning all of those and networking and making them interoperable. The latest one, as I said, is the AI C42, which has just been established by ISO. So it's the joint between ISO and IEC, so it's a JTC1 standards committee. And YL is in the audience there, and he gave us a talk on SC40 on IIC earlier on. And also the other IEEE initiative then is the Standards Association the Introduced Global Initiatives for Ethical Considerations for the Design of Autonomous Systems. So again, AI type systems. So that was launched back in 2016, and that's still running. So I won't give too much more information on that. The title or focus of the SC42 is for Standardization Program in Artificial Intelligence, and this is going to have its kickoff meeting in 2 months' time. The month after next, and that's in Beijing. So if you're interested in getting involved with SC42, then maybe contact your national body to see if you can get registered as an expert in those areas. Just some of the points from SC42's remit in terms of what ISO hopes to achieve through their AI Standards Committee is to look at the areas of virtual reality and visual recognition, spatial programming, etc., in a standardized format. So to show that its growth and adoption does not come without challenges. And in order to be able to meet those challenges, we need to have a standardized approach. Best practice for deployment, interoperability, scalability, and trustworthiness. So all of these issues, you'll always see security associated with any of the technological standards areas as well. And that's why we have this need for standardization in the area. So in summary, just to do a quick run through of what the AI landscape is, from consortia to standards bodies to initiatives and partnerships that have been established. AI disruption will have a major impact on future applications in many applied technology areas, and you can just give you a quick snapshot at the start here of some of the areas that's going to be impacted, and there may not be ones that you would have thought about initially. The future societal benefits are obvious in terms of how AI can improve our life, our home life, our work life, our professional life, our personal life, etc. And there are potential risks with rule-based and algorithmic AI solutions, because we know there is bias that's been introduced, and it was mentioned in the last talk as well. That's why I didn't dwell on it here. But unless you train the AIs correctly, then if your data is not good enough, then your AI is not going to be good enough at the end of the day. You need to make sure that this bias has been removed. And standardization can identify and alleviate many of the potential problems that we have identified already, I mentioned already. There are great things coming down the track in terms of what's capable within blockchain and smart contracts as well, and then AI is going to have an effect on that to be able to effect a contract negotiation and conclusion, all time-stamped and verified within a blockchain framework. Thank you very much. I have 2 minutes left on my time, so hopefully we got a little bit back on schedule there. If you want to make contact with me, if you want to have a discussion about any of this, if you drop me a request through LinkedIn, and I'm a LinkedIn open networker, so I will accept that request, and then you have a way of getting in contact with me. If you have any questions now, I'm quite happy to